No gavel, pound, pound. Miss Sharon, will you do the prayer for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. Father, I thank you for this day and thank you for the many blessings in our life, Father God. And I thank you for your protection over our county, Father God, that even though the virus seemed to want to attack our county, that you divinely intervened, Father God, and you protected us. And we just thank you for it. And we thank you for your continual blessing over our community, Father God, and over our state and our nation. Just thank you for the many things you do. Please keep our troops safe, Father God, and our law enforcement, Father God, and our first responders. Just thank you for it, Father God. And give our leaders the wisdom and, Father God, the direction they need to take our country forward, Father God, and to help our economy to, Father God, grow again. Just thank you for it. We just love you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Glenn, can you do the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Sure. Please stand. Even if you're at home, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Julie, did you want to please make a comment for the public on how they can join us?
Thank you, Ms. Hines. I'm actually going, Clint, I've got the ability to screen share on here, right?
Yes, you should.
Okay, if you guys give me just 1 second, I am going to screen share so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. If I can get it pulled up. Sorry, I'm getting there.
We're fine.
All right. Yep. Oh, no, it says I'm disabled from that. Screen sharing. That's okay. I'll just go over it verbally with you guys. I was going to show you the presentation that we give on the county commission meetings, but that's all right. We can go over it with you all. So if anyone may be listening to this meeting via Zoom or Facebook or however they may be calling into that, we actually have several different ways that people can provide public comment to you all while they're on the call tonight. If they are participating via Zoom, they can use the raise your hand feature, and our staff will recognize that and give them the option to be able to speak. They also can email in requests to comment@bakercountyfl.org. That is being monitored while we're here in the office, so we can check that for any comments that may come in. They also may call in our phone line. Here we go. We've got it pulled up now. Okay, they also may call in the phone line of area code 904-259-0210. Those are the options in which they can participate and ask questions to you all here. We would ask that you maybe take just a little bit of time for public comment, just in case it may take someone a minute or two to, to be able to figure out a way to do that. But we do have our IT staff on the call as well, helping us monitor all of those different options for us. If you guys could go to the next slide that shows the panelist and attendee information for me. So just to let everyone know on this call as well, we have two different types of people that are participating in this meeting: attendees and panelists. And your panelists are actually your LPA members and myself and Miss Laura Dietrich. We are all able to be seen on video. We can talk openly during the meeting as long as our mics are unmuted. We can share our screens if needed, and we could just observe the meeting in full capacity. Everyone else, which would be the members of the public or the press that may be listening to this call or watching this call, they have to speak upon request, which was the options that I said earlier by raising your hand, calling or emailing in. We cannot see them on video. They cannot share a screen, but they can observe this meeting in its full capacity. If you guys have any questions about any of that, I'd be happy to answer. If not, Ms. Catherine, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll give it a couple of minutes to see if someone has a question. Or a couple of seconds, I should say.
Yes, ma'am.
I texted Greg and he's having some technical issues. I think he's trying to get on now.
No, okay.
There are no public comments by email from my end.
I have next on the agenda our minutes. I do not have a copy of the minutes, and I don't know why, but I don't. Has everybody? Hello.
Sorry about that. I don't know what was taking so long because I was just sitting there staring at myself for the last 20 minutes.
Well, I'm glad you're here. We're now looking at the minutes from our last meeting. When was our last meeting?
2 weeks, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't believe
Okay.
you guys have any minutes to take action on tonight, Ms. Catherine.
Okay, I didn't think so because, well, I just didn't think so, but I wanted to make sure. All right, the first we have is new business, which is ordinance number 2020-12, small scale land use amendment at 9364 Tia Place in Sanderson. I guess Laura has a presentation for this.
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. If you go to your staff report that's in front of you in your packet. Well, first of all, I want to apologize for things coming out late for you. The office has been highly inundated with activity and sometimes an even more skeleton staff than we've got. So plus we have a new system to upload as well as distribute, and we don't have access or training to that yet. So things got held up. So again, I apologize that you got these 24, 30 hours ago. And with that, I want to note one small error, and I'll point it out when I get to it. But you have two applications in front of you, 2020-12 and 2020-13. Those are companion applications. One is a small scale land use amendment, the second being a rezoning. So while I can take them together one after another, of course, you'll make motions on them separately. Ms. Chantal Gibbons purchased a brand new double wide mobile home. She was under the impression she could move it onto a lot that she had purchased. However, the land use and zoning precluded her from being able to do so. So she has been patiently waiting to go through this cycle. And the first part of these two applications is a land use request. She currently has agricultural A as her land use, which allows one dwelling unit per 10 acres. And she's requesting to change that to medium density residential. So given that she would like to change it to that, she does have 1 acre of land. And the reason for wanting to go to MDR instead of VLDR, which is very low density residential, is because that land use allows for her to use that 1 acre parcel to have potentially 2 mobile homes on it, which often occurs in the county. So instead of her having to do so later, she's asking for that now. She is surrounded on the north, west, and east sides of her property with the land use and zoning she is requesting. So this is a more dense area with medium density residential land use and with the companion rezoning request that we'll go into in a minute of RCMH 0.5. So again, it's compatible and it's consistent with the surrounding character of the area, the future land use map, and it's to allow for her to not only move her home on the 1 acre parcel, but to have a ½ acre for a future family member if that situation should arise. Now, the one error you'll see in your staff report occurs on page 2, and it's because my mind obviously lingered when I wrote the next sentence, and I took the same range density sentence. What it's supposed to say at the beginning of page 2 is the residential conventional mobile home 0.5, which allows for a maximum density of 2 dwelling units per acre. And with that, would you like me to proceed and present the companion rezoning, or would you like to discuss the land use first?
Let's discuss the land use first. Does Ms. Gibbons want to speak? Is she on this?
Oda Price is her agent, and she is the authorized agent. I made sure she had the information to call in, so I'm not sure if she's on the call or not.
Okay, well,
At this time, they're not on the Zoom meeting.
okay, so they have not requested to speak. Okay. So, does anyone have anything to say about this zoning request?
Land use.
Any discussion?
So what land use is the request for? I'm still confused on that. I see
The land use.
medium density and then very low density. So the request is for medium density, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that last sentence in the recommendation, okay. So medium density. Okay, good. Thank you.
So she could have, I have a question. She could have as many as 4 units on this 1 acre?
Well, the way the land use works, okay, remember, everything has to work together. Land use and zoning have to be compatible. So medium density residential does have a range in the comprehensive plan that allows for 1 to 4 dwelling units per acre. However, what will then further dictate if that can be executed and at what density level would be the zoning and the acreage. So if she had 4 acres and she had the proper zoning, she could do 4 dwelling units. However, while she's requesting medium density residential, she's only got 1 acre. So
Okay,
that means that the land use allows her to do the 2, because if she did low density residential, that would preclude her. So she's asking for medium density, so that way she can have the potential of 2, and she only has 1 acre, and 1 acre with that land use and the requested zoning would only allow her a maximum of 2 as well.
okay, that I was a little out there for the 1 and 4. Yeah,
That's why that's why before I've spoken about how I'd like to, when we get to some more housekeeping, the ranges are very confusing to people.
mm-hmm.
So,
Okay, is there any more discussion?
Has she turned in her drawing to show you where she's putting this mobile home? Is she position it where she can actually put another mobile home on the other part of the property?
she will have, she's not required to do that at this stage. She would do that in her permitting process, where they have to bring in a survey, a legal, a deed, and the site plan. So she would have to, if she wanted to put 1 mobile home on this property and be able for future addition of 1 more mobile home or house, she would have to place it in such a way that it would meet the setback requirements now, as well as for a future unit. Otherwise, let's say she gets it approved now and 5 years from now, she wants to bring another one on and it doesn't meet the setback requirements, she'd have 3 options. 1, she wouldn't be able to do it. 2, she'd have to move the current home. Or 3, she could seek a variance, worst case scenario. So we've advised she and her installers to place it properly, so that way the other half an acre would be available if at such time she wanted to move a unit on there.
Okay.
Were notifications gone out to all the neighbors? Have we gotten
Yes.
any reply backs
We
from
have
any of
not.
them? No issues?
Not 1 call, not 1 email, not 1 letter.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion on this?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, it's passed. Ordinance number 2020-12, small scale land use amendment at 9364 Tia Place, Sanderson 32087. Okay, now on to the other half of this, which is ordinance number 2020-13, rezoning at 9364 Tia Place, Sanderson. Okay, Laura, over to you.
Okay, and so to complete the story on this property, again, it's 1 acre. And while you just approved the land use change from agriculture A to medium density residential, the current zoning is residential conventional mobile home, 2.5. So that's the main reason why she couldn't move the mobile home onto her site, because the zoning required 2.5 acres and she only has 1 acre. So regardless, she had to come in just to have her own house there. So it was further discussed and advised that if she did want to move a family member on, it would be more efficient and cost effective for her to address that now. So that's why she's requesting RCMH 0.5 instead of 1. So 1 would allow her 1 dwelling unit per acre. The RCMH 0.5 allows her 2 dwelling units per acre. And again, the 1 acre lot caps her at 2 dwelling units. So she would not be able to do any more than that.
Okay, any discussion? And once again, we don't have anyone wishing to say anything, do we?
There are no public comments on our end, Ms. Catherine.
Wonderful. Any discussion by the board members?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so can I have a motion for ordinance number 2023-13 rezoning?
So moved.
Actually,
Second.
correction, I'm sorry to interrupt, Madam Chair, correction for the record, it's 2020-13.
Oh, I didn't say that, I'm sorry. Yes, 2020-13 rezoning.
So moved as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Ordinance number 2020-13 rezoning 9364 Tia Place, Sanderson, Florida has been approved. So we will move on to ordinance number 2020-18 revision to ordinance code. Okay, Laura, it's over to you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. All right, so I don't want to overcomplicate this. The background seems more complicated than the action that you're being presented with tonight. So briefly, I'm just going to explain it kind of big picture, and then if you want to ask more questions, you can. What happens often is projects will come in or people will call to ask questions, and then that will lead me down a path to finding something that either was not fully implemented or was inappropriately implemented. And this is, again, one of those times. So what I found when a gentleman in a subdivision called to see if he could get a greenhouse in his backyard for non-commercial use, which is legal by right in that area, it took me to a subdivision that's very unique. And I realized immediately when going to the code to look up his zoning that I couldn't because it didn't exist. So years ago, Ed Preston, in 1995 and 96, I don't know if it was Ed or if it was Ginger or who was there, but there was a lawsuit. And I don't know all the details of the lawsuit, and neither does Rich, but the ultimate, it culminated with the lawsuit being settled, and the stipulation of that settlement agreement was that a residential conventional 2 zoning be created and applied just to this subdivision And ironically, there's also 4 little straggling parcels that are to the southwest of that subdivision. So in all the research I did, basically I found out that what used to be called Cannon Crossing later became Cannon Heights, 2 phases, 131 acres. That was all developed with single family. And then there's 4 individual lots at a part of a different subdivision called Pheasant Run. So Cannon Crossing and 4 little lots adjacent to the southwest have this very unique zoning of RC2, and there is no other RC2 in the entire county. And nor can there ever be, at least unless someone were to make a policy change. So what I did was I looked through the code to see if someone had made a notation, so that way when someone looks up RC2, they'll find it and understand why it's there, and there wasn't. But bizarrely enough, there was a note in the comp plan, and this is not a comp plan issue. So this is a creation of a section notation. So basically, when you look up in between 2 zoning districts, right before RC1 is where RC2 would go. But we're not going to create that zoning district, as this is just merely a result from a lawsuit. So what's going to happen is I'm proposing a section that's 24-194.01, and all it would say is the following. The subject property of a stipulated settlement agreement from Ordinance 96-1 and Comprehensive Plan Amendment 95-1A, consisting of approximately 131 acres, and then further described as Cannon Heights, formerly known as Cannon Crossing, phases 1 and 2, and otherwise known as Parcel A in the subdivision of original documents. So Cannon Heights phase 1 is further described in Plat Book 3, pages 24 to 25, lots 1 through 18. Cannon Heights phase 2 is further described in Plat Book 3, pages 32 to 35, lots 19 to 59, plus 4 parcels that are in the Pheasant Run phase 2, and I've got the 4 parcel numbers listed there, all being 11-2 south-21-0191-0000-0010, and 40. So all that property would be codified in the code, and RC2 at this time would only be applied and applicable to those parcels. So I'm just basically cleaning up for the record something that doesn't exist but was applied. Sorry to make that long and kind of confusing.
Any discussion from board
Yeah.
members?
Yeah, a few. I'm just wondering if we're opening up a can of worms here. By mentioning an RC2 and the LDRs, could that potentially start getting people thinking, well, it's mentioned in there, why can't I start doing that in subdivision and planning for 2s? In this area, unless I'm wrong, I believe all these lots, most of them are already built out. I'm just wondering why we need to go down this road if we really need to even do this at this point. Because part of it is, if this is just sticks in there, even with this statement, and you mentioned RC2, what's this going to fix for the future? I mean, what's the problem really? Other than it sure doesn't look right, and we got a few things that we need to clean up, but I'm not sure if if we're doing this the right way.
Okay, well, first of all, through the chair to LPA member, whenever you apply something to a map, that's not a legal, official, proper method. It has to be in the comp plan if it's regarding land use, it has to be in the ordinance code if it's regarding zoning. The document that has a notation is not involved whatsoever in this issue. So I find it a little odd that they would put a note in a comp plan even though it's a zoning district matter. So just like me looking up a gentleman's call request, I could not find it because it didn't exist because someone failed to follow through. So one, this says we recognize it's out there on the map and this is why, and it doesn't apply to anybody but those parcels, and it's end of story. Now, as far as someone wanting to take this legal notation and try to create something out of it, that's a matter in which you and the Board of County Commissioners control, and just saying, no, we're not going to create it like we created Ag 50, and that's end of that. The other thing is, if someone buys, remember, we may come and go, but this land will be here. So if that subdivision is bought, sold, demolished, reorganized in any fashion, I want the record to state for the fact that if they were to do that, they would lose their legally non-conforming status as far as what these documents, I think, state. So it just basically, it codifies it in the code because it doesn't exist and no one knows what the heck's going on if they didn't do the work that I did. So if you don't want it to be in that record, someone else someday is going to trip over it again and go down this road again. That's my presumption. But it's your decision on how you want to handle it.
If we go down this, if we do it, then I think we need to go and do it completely right. And I think at the end of the day, Laura, you are right. It needs to be compatible, the two documents, the ordinance, the code, and the land development regs. So if so, I do think then we'd have to go ahead and do all the other elements that go within each one of these sections for each one of these zoning districts, the general description, the permitted uses, additional, the limited uses, those, sub paragraphs.
I did run that.
Or else somebody would look at this and say, gee, somebody will say, well, this leaves a void in there. Because like what you said, then in the future, somebody goes to these properties, how do they know right now what they're allowed to do? How do they know what their setbacks are, for instance? Unless we have that specified in that for this district. So if we're going to clean it up, we got to clean it up the rest of the way too, is my recommendation.
And through the chair, I actually already went down that whole rabbit hole. And here's the problem. The problem is, and this might have been one of the many things in the lawsuit, is the fact that whoever created the subdivision did not create equal 2-acre lots. They don't have, when you create a lot on a zoning based on an acreage and or square footage, then that means each parcel has to be a minimum of that square footage, and they have minimum lots. Sometimes they have depth, sometimes they don't. And then of course there's setbacks. The problem with the subdivision is if we were to create a category for it and then say there's no more allowed, but here are the provisions for this category, we'd be creating a whole bunch of lots of illegal lots of record because they don't all have the right square footage. They don't all have the proper widths, which would be a minimum 200 feet. And so then you further create parcels that are now going to be non-conforming. And after I went through that whole exercise, I talked to Rich about it, and Rich's advice was to codify a notation and leave it right there. So this has been vetted as far as on staff's level.
Okay, anybody else have any comment? It just sounds to me like
Got to think about some more. I mean, it just does not pass the smell test for me. Because it looks, just putting a statement like that. I mean, then down the future, I mean, if somebody demolishes their house, they're going to have no instructions. They're going to be just go do whatever they want on there. If somebody wants to come in and says, I want to put an accessory structure, there's nothing there that says, yeah, you can put it right up to the line, because heck, we don't have any rules for this.
They should have the same as the subdivision that was created.
Okay, what was that though? I would be happy with that, but I bet you there isn't any.
I think it is, isn't it, Laura? In Cannon Heights, and don't they have the setbacks and all in theirs?
I couldn't find it.
I thought they did.
So, I mean, we can go ahead and defer this, withdraw it, table the idea. The whole intention is cities and counties across the country, the state, the country, what they do is when there are certain unique, very specific policy changes, whether it's comp plan or code, make these notations That way, when you look through comp plans and codes all over, you'll see things specifically about projects that codify them, so that way the record has been preserved for whatever that unique situation is. Otherwise, policies are supposed to be broad and then get more specific with regards to lot requirements in the code. So, you know, this was supposed to recognize something. I do understand where you're going with it, and that's why I tried to come up with requirements for it. But again, it would be creating, you know, a mishmash. Several would be rendered non-conforming immediately. So I can try to dig and find this old lawsuit and see what the situation is and if there's anything in that. But again, it was handled so poorly that this is literally policy. I think I put it in here. Ordinance in your comp plan. It's where is it? I think it's A11017, if I'm not mistaken. In your future land.
96-1.
No, I'm
Ordinance
talking. I'm talking about the policy that was created to note this in your comp plan. It's A11017. That refers to the
Right.
only notation I could find.
Yeah, and you quoted it.
So no, I wrote this. I took part of what he wrote or she wrote or whoever wrote it, and I expanded it a little bit because they left out some details. So
Okay, I have one question. If we say table this for another month and try and do some work to find what the lawsuit was and why, or any stipulations, is this going to affect this gentleman putting in his greenhouse?
no, I already determined that the good news for him was that it's allowed accessory use by right. Even if he had RC1, which is an even more dense and intense zoning, that's why I looked at the step down, not the step up. So they can move forward with that. They were following the rules, which I appreciated, and waiting to permit properly. So they're going to go ahead and move forward legally with their permits for their greenhouse. This is a whole different thing. So I can pull some information and see what I find, and then put it before you and make sure I give it to you with plenty of time for you to look through it. And then that way, you'll have more information to make a decision on.
Well, honestly, though, this was a quarter century ago. This was 25 years ago. Is it worth spending the effort and the energy to go through and dig all this stuff out just to rehash something that's 25 years old versus just codifying it, making a note that there was an exception, and we acknowledged it, and then we've normalized the zoning on it?
I mean, if you'd like me to add a statement, because my intention was to do just that. It was just to lock it up, call it a day. It's a special exception to the rules, and it can keep on keeping on being single family. I mean, if we added a statement like that, then 50 years from now, I mean, who knows? So.
I just think we got more pressing matters to get to instead of chasing down something that's 25 years old.
Okay, well, then let's see what the general consensus of the board is. And would anybody like to make a motion for ordinance 2018 revision to the ordinance codes land development regulations specific to those two subdivisions?
So
I'll
moved.
make a motion that we need to table this and for further research, because I don't think we can just put this in there right now just as a statement without any type of guidance or directions for the future. If we're going to have it in there, we got to do it right, or else somebody will look at us at same thing that we've been having. People just rush and throw stuff in and not dotting the I's and crossing the T's, and then we got to rework something later on. Because I do believe somebody would come back and say, well, what are the standards on this? Where can I, what is my setback on that for that subdivision? So,
Well, Would someone like to second Glenn's motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sounds like it's passed. I couldn't quite tell.
Yeah, motion carries.
Just ask if anybody
am I-
opposed.
Or do I need to be a deciding vote?
No, it passes.
Okay. All right, so we will table this and do a little bit more, have Laura do a little bit more research so we can close it up tight.
Okay, and Madam Chair, if I may just ask the general board, my understanding, and I just want to confirm with you if it's your intention, my understanding is that I'm to pull the background information with the intent to be able to describe the uses by right, by exception, and the lot requirements, but only still to be applicable only to these parcels. Not for an open new district, but per the stipulation in the settlement agreement, identify what it means for those people and only those people.
That's my
That's-
understanding also.
Yes, please. And always, no matter what, from the beginning, anything that goes in the car, keep highlighting exactly like you're saying, Laura. This is only for this section.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
very good. I will do that.
Thank you.
Okay, upcoming agenda items. Do you have something, Laura, you want to give to
I
us?
just want to make a general statement, so you're prepared for the next several meetings. We have been getting inundated with project submittals. We've got about, I think, 15 or so going right now. We picked up 3 between 4 and 5:15 this afternoon, and we've got several subdivisions coming in. So I just want you to get prepared that we have been, the last month has been very, very, very busy, and there's more people calling to get ready to start submitting even more. So
Wow.
your agendas are going to start getting more stacked on a regular basis.
Okay. We'll
And
put our
the
running
good
shoes
news
on.
is I probably won't be here for the next meeting. So that's good news.
No. Well, we definitely need a quorum for the next 2. We're booked solid for the next 3 LPA meetings through August and September. So if we're gonna have issue with quorum, I need to know as soon as possible.
What's our next date?
Say
Yeah, the
again?
day before is good.
Well, the next item on the agenda is to review the 2020 LPA schedule. So what's our next meeting?
25th
It's
of
in June.
June 25th.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Glenn, you said you can't make it on the 25th?
It looks like it. I'm not going to be able to. So at this point, count me out.
Okay. Is anybody else not going to make it? Then we'll have a quorum if everybody else can make it.
You have an alternate, is that correct, Madam Chair?
Yes, we do. We have one. Gabe is, we haven't seen him in a while.
We need to advertise or get the commissioners to find out about getting us 2 alternates. We've
I
not
did-
had a consistent alternate in a long time.
Yep. I did speak with Gabe tonight and I did send him the meeting link. So I don't know, maybe he just couldn't get in or what, but I know he was wanting to come in tonight. He and I talked about 4:45, maybe about 5:45. And I sent him the link. But are the links unique to each individual or is it just for the meeting? Does anyone know?
Yeah,
It's the same link for everyone.
Yeah, the links are the same for everyone.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Except for the panelists. The panelists do get special links. So
Okay.
if you sent
Yep.
him the panelist link, it would look like he was you.
So hopefully Gabe got the email for the link.
Yes, ma'am, he did. He got the email that had the link on the agenda for the public to be able to
Mhm.
participate.
Plus, we
Oh.
all need to look at our terms when we are ending terms in case anyone is thinking about leaving the board.
Sorry, not allowed, Sharon.
But, just in case, because I know, people get thinking about it when it's time for them to leave. So anyway, we do need our subs here, and we don't have them.
That's true. That's true.
I think
So,
the NAB guy was the last one that left us, I think. That's been over a year ago.
yeah, we had Gabe and Nab decided it wasn't for him. And that just left Gabe. And of course, he's very busy too with other things, I'm sure. Yeah, we definitely need to advertise and talk to the county commission about appointments. So who would do that? Should I contact the county commission, or does Laura? How does that work?
Actually, by sunshine laws, Madam Chair, you're not allowed to contact the commissioner. So
Oh,
I think
that's
that
good.
I think that would be Sarah or myself.
Okay. I
Yes,
didn't
ma'am, I
realize.
can get that coordinated for you guys. I will check into the LPA term limits like Ms. Sharon suggested. We'll verify what pattern, and I know you guys are staggered with your term limits on there. So we'll check into that for you, and we'll get something before the county commissioners to try to get you guys some alternate members appointed.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any other discussion?
Cadence, are we still gonna meet the third Thursday of every month?
Yeah, as far as I know, and the next one being the 25th of June. Is that the
Okay.
third Thursday?
Oh, and Madam Chair, through the chair to Ms. Little, do you want to maybe, or do you want me to just make a quick comment about the notices that went out with regards to Ms. Frazier's ear and the document that may or may not be prepared in time for the 25th meeting?
Could you run that by me again, please? I was looking at my calendar.
Yeah, well, actually, I was speaking through the chair to Sarah.
Okay.
Is she there?
No, ma'am, let's get together tomorrow and try to nail down that information from Susan. And we'd be happy, once we have a little more information, we can distribute that to the LPA members when we have that information.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess what the comment I was trying to make is that whether we need to make them aware that we're not sure whether we're going to be ready for that to be presented then anyway, right?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I just wanted to let you all know that technically notices have been mailed to over 80 property owners with regards to a reversion of land use. In the Sanderson IDN, basically the interstate development node there, Ed Preston a couple of years ago, I don't know, 7 years ago, applied what's called interstate related commercial land use. And I'm not sure what the impetus behind it was, but nonetheless, Susan in the ear process decided to propose to remove it or rescind it. So again, ironically, there is no such land use in our comprehensive plan, but again, it has been applied to the map. So she is offering to have that pulled and everything revert back to its previous land use. The notices were mailed out and we are getting phone calls of people that are concerned. Susan or Sarah and I have not had a chance to even read the final document that's supposed to be encompassing all this information. And so given in the light of all that, we're hesitant to want to move forward in the June 25th meeting. So we would, at worst case scenario, hold it, read it, make sure you have it well in advance, and then re-advertise when everyone feels comfortable with whatever it is. So.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question, please?
Certainly.
How did that impact their land values, that change of their zoning?
Well, and that was one of the questions, because the first several phone calls we got were from business and industry. And not only for value, but also for the fact that our biggest concern was not only that it was going to impact folks like that, but that it would render them legally non-conforming, as well as Daryl Register and I had a long talk about the fact that that's a big tool in his toolbox. So that's why I talked to Sarah and said, we need to put the brakes on this and figure this out and go through the parcels. And so I talked to Susan today, and I tried to get the reason behind all of it. And it is, you know, a long story and a lot of information that culminates in the fact that, you know, it wasn't fully applied. It was on the map. It's not in the comp plan. It was never really done properly. The county, she said, has thousands of square feet of available commercial, yet isn't using it. And this would add another 5,100 square feet. And it's not necessary. So she felt the need. And she said, again, she has workshopped this with you all several times. So I'm sorry if, I know you've had so much information provided to you over the last year or two that, you know, it doesn't surprise me a bit if anyone can't remember some of these discussions, but this is apparently the result of a lot of work. And I don't feel comfortable with it. Daryl's not comfortable with it. Sarah's not comfortable with it. And so Susan said, well, if you want to give certain people what they want, then you could just administratively do that for particular people. And again, we just, this needs more focus, I think.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks. I'm sorry, but back to the agenda. Greg, you said the third Thursday, and you're right, the third Thursday would be the 18th. But this next meeting is scheduled for the 25th, which would be the fourth Thursday.
Right. And that's why I'm asking,
Yeah,
is it gonna be a one-time deal on the fourth Thursday, or are we switching all together? Just trying to plan some stuff out, that's all.
yes. Laura, or do you have a comment on that, or Sarah, somebody?
Well, we already have a schedule that we've got a schedule through the year. So
Right.
we've already been advertising on that and planning many projects over the next several months. So we cannot deviate from that schedule, at least through September.
All right, that's fine. Let's just get the schedule out there so that we're all on the same page.
It's been I think it's been the fourth Thursday since for a long time.
Yeah, I think because the county commissioners have been the first and third Tuesday, correct, Sarah? And that's why I always have in my mind, then we're the off ones, the second and fourth Thursday. Could it happen on the same week? Yeah, sometimes, but that's generally it. So the fourth Thursday has been the predominant since I've been around.
All right, good enough. Let's just keep it in.
The reason why they need to be staggered is because of notification regulations, advertising regulations, and the fact that they've got 2 hearings and they've got to hear the items after you've heard them and made recommendations. So that's why they can't take place in the same week.
I have no problem with that. It's just through various iterations, my calendar is completely out of date, and so I get a note. I look at my email and say, God, do I got a meeting this week or not? So just if it's not in my calendar, it doesn't happen. And I'm just a little wanting to make sure I'm here for everybody. That's all.
Well, to make it a little more pleasant for you, the calendar that Kristen had Deborah make, I find extremely difficult to read. So we're restructuring that, and we can do that tomorrow, and then we'll email it to everyone so you can hang it up. And it's going to have the dates chronologically for you of the process of what we've got with highlights on the meetings. It's got the full schedule, not just you, but it's going to have the commission, so you can see the process every month of what's going on.
And that would be good. And Miss Madam Chair, or the chair to Miss Sarah, if you could also have Clint, or I think it's Clint, put that up on the county website too. There's a whole raging debate going on social media right now, and I told people, here's where you can go get the information. but not everything's updated out there on the county website.
Yes, sir. On the county website, there's actually an LPA tab, and that's where your information is posted at.
Yep,
Um,
understood. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm
went
looking at it
and,
now, and it's there. I'm not sure if there's some confusion about maybe where to find it, because it is different than where the county commission information is located.
so maybe if there was just like one consolidated calendar for the county, here's when the county managers meeting or county commissioners meeting, LPA meetings, something that's a little more user friendly to John Q public versus having to, oh yeah, it's nested underneath the LPA on the third page on the bottom left.
Yes, sir. We'll look into that and maybe have a calendar. And the most recent meeting is actually on the front page of the county's website as well. So there's two different places that they can find it, but we're certainly willing to make it easier for people that are struggling with it. So we'll look into that for you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. And first of all, I want to apologize to Sarah for saying Julie. I know who you are. I don't know who I am sometimes, I think. Is there any more business? Anything else anyone needs to bring up?
That was kind of scary, Madam Chair. You don't know who you are and you're our chair?
Yeah, I know, isn't it? Yeah. It's all this quarantine stuff.
No, I have nothing. Thank
Always
Okay.
blame it on the virus.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's a virus of my brain. Okay, well then, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, let's.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye.